Wow, it's exciting to be back, isn't it? What are we going to watch tonight?
So many movies. Well, so everybody on this press tour at the moment, everybody's saying, "Oh, if there was a movie that disappeared and nobody knew about it, which one would you choose to remake?" And it would obviously be this one. My first memory is the poster. It was just a black poster with Apocalypse Now written all over it. And we were punks at the time, and everybody was into Star Wars, and we were like, why would you watch a kids movie? Because we were punks, but this movie with that writing on it was there, and I remember going to see it and just being blown away by it. I met him in San Francisco, and I was jelly. I was like a child, just stupid. Didn't know how to talk to him. My mouth dried up. You think about the filmmaking in the 70s in out of America, where you put together the kind of more European, the more auteur vision of filmmaking with the Hollywood system, and you had this incredible fusion, and then they separated. After the 70s, really after that movie, they separated, because even when he went to his next movie after that, it was tougher for him, you know. Oh yeah, Mean Streets, yes. So we're promoting Yesterday at the moment, obviously, so I've got to promote Yesterday.
All my troubles seem so far away.
So he introduced it at his film festival, because the world premiere of Yesterday was at the Tribeca Film Festival this year, about a month ago, and he introduced us, which is extraordinary to be standing behind him and as he introduces your film. So that was pretty cool. Ah, yes, yeah. You know, he was a cinematographer, you know, he was an extraordinary cinematographer, and he takes apart all the elements of filmmaking. He literally deconstructs them like Picasso used to do and puts them back together again in a different way, particularly sound, which he was incredibly experimental with, and he never gets the credit for it, really. So for me, he's the filmmaker's Picasso, really. That's Shaun of the Dead. Yes. Edgar's like a friend, yeah. We made two very different zombie movies, really. One like a full-on hardcore zombie movie like we made. I wasn't even calling it a zombie movie. I refused to call them zombies. And Edgar embraced the comedic side of it as well. And he's a fantastic filmmaker. And I loved Baby Driver. And he said he's got Baby Driver 2, but he's shooting another film in Soho at the moment. He's shooting at the moment in London. Okay. And he didn't want to do Baby Driver straight away. I can tell you exclusively there'll be a Baby Driver 2. He was doing like Ant-Man, wasn't he? And then he walked away from that, or got kicked off it, or whatever. I don't know what the expression is. You part company, and I parted company with the Bond. So yeah, he's been through that experience as well. You know, those are the casualties of Hollywood. That's what happens in Hollywood. You know, you kind of fall out. But you have to stick to your principles. You have your principles, and you stick to them. Otherwise, you're just becoming you're just being hired for money, really. Then really. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah. The Wind That Shook the Barley. Yeah, that's Killian in that. He's an amazing filmmaker, Ken Loach, you know, proper, extraordinary. You look at his career, what he's achieved. And that's one of his most beautiful films, I think. And Killian is superb in that movie. Amazing movie. Eyes Wide Shut. We met her while she was shooting it. We had a kind of Hollywood meeting, you know, where they set you up to meet each other. And we had a meeting with her, and she was talking about having to do this scene where he did a big close-up of her smoking a cigarette.
I was just wondering if you were going to be much longer.
But she said they have to do it 78 times. And she was like sucking the smoking off a cigarette 78 times. I watched again recently Barry Lyndon, which I hadn't seen for many years. Yeah. And I watched it because BBC were presenting it, and they wanted me to do an introduction to it. And I watched it again, and it was incredible. I'd forgotten it's got a voiceover, and a very, very funny voiceover as well, by this wonderful old British actor who's passed away now, called Michael Hordern. And it's a very beautiful voiceover, very, very funny. And it's interesting because his Clockwork Orange was re-released in Britain this year. I saw it when it first came out. One of the few people in Britain who did see it before he pulled it because of all the press campaign against it. And you had to come to Paris to watch it. And that was the closest you could get to be able to see the film. And of course, that's got one of the most amazing voiceovers ever.
And what I needed now to give it the perfect ending was a bit of the old Ludwig van.
Because it uses the original language from the novel, Nazdat, I think it's called, the kind of Russian street language. And that's another wonderful voiceover film. What else? What else? I'll tell you a filmmaker I love is Louis Malle. Yeah, where is he? Au revoir les enfants. That's one of my favourite films of all time. It really is.
Au revoir les enfants. À bientôt. Au revoir mon père.
As a director watching it, when you watch that film, you see everybody in the background. They're all in the same film. One of the nightmares of making a film when you've got like extras like kids and things like that is making sure they're all on it every moment, because you know you're only going to use a bit of, and you want it to be the bit when the foreground is perfect and you want the background, and it often isn't. But they were all those kids were in the same movie at the same time, and he made sure, however he did it, through his ADs or whatever, that they're all in the same movie at the same time. He's another one, Jacques Audiard. Yeah. I love anything by Jacques Audiard, really.
We're the Sisters Brothers.
We're good at what we do.
Yes, I saw Brothers and Sisters, which is based on an amazing novel, and isn't one of I don't think it's Jacques' greatest film, but it's very, very interesting. Wonderful, some wonderful stuff in it, really. But I love him as a filmmaker, really special filmmaker. Oh, yes, of course, Le Diabolique. That's one of the greatest films ever made. There you go.
Une cuve vide, ça ne vaut pas une bouteille pleine, hein? Gentil-vous.
Oh, Gaspar Noé, Enter the Void.
I know I'm not a junkie.
Come on. It's not your friend.
I've met him a couple of times, actually. Just bumped into him in places. You don't really meet directors very much. I love how provocative they are, and stylistically how daring they are as well. You need people to constantly push at the boundaries all the time, really. Oh, The Clash. Well, no, you've picked very well. This is my band, really. I'm a big believer that music is in you, really. I mean, there's no way I can justify this so you sound a pretentious fool saying it. But actually I do believe it. I think it's inside you, and I think it is, artists uncover it for you. They introduce you to yourself, really. And for me, that was punk. And that feeling I got when, with your mates, you went to see these groups play, or you got the records, it felt like it belonged to you. It didn't feel like it was something that, you know, being brought to you that you didn't know. You sort of knew it. And that's what great music feels like, I think. Oh, yes. Richard, good morning, England, yes.
That will soon be the first person to curse on rock and roll radio. Here it comes.
Shut that filth up.
So Richard's got a kind of like a 5-hour version of that. That's a typical delusional director. When you think the 5-hour cut is the best. But maybe it is. So Richard, so what you won't have here, I'll bet, is Blackadder. Because Richard gets defined as a romantic comedian, which he is, and he spent his career exploring that in films. But he's also one of the great radical writers. Blackadder, for instance, is truly, truly radical, and it is like Fawlty Towers and Monty Python. These are the great Easter Island statues of comic insolence in Britain, and our humour is, anyway, standing right there now.
I was about to say, do not believe.
Do not believe anything that man says.
Do not believe a single word this man says.
And I was telling them about your 5-hour version of it.
Yeah.
Which you said it declined in quality as soon as it was reduced from 5 hours.
I know, the 5 hours was.
So there it is, Good Morning England, and it was called like here.
This is one of my favourite movies.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Ghost. Yeah, I mean, Ghost and Truly Madly Deeply, Anthony Minghella's movie on the same subject.
Yes.
Not many jokes, but very mainstream, romantic in a kind of exciting way.
That was an amazing movie, wasn't it? Also, the big argument over real effects, because now effects are getting so that you can't tell really, except just knowledge of physics. You think a person can't do that, but he made a point of making all the physical effects real. Those sequences as the house disintegrates are just...
Yeah. And just the ordinariness of the love, though, between them. Yeah. So I'm looking for L'été meurtrière, which is one of my favourite French movies. She is the most beautiful person in the world, and because something terrible has happened in her youth. She can't help but destroy the lives of everybody she meets because her beauty is so dangerous. Yeah. But it's also really good with time. It plays around, goes back and forwards in time. That's an amazing movie.
You know Alain Souchon?
No. He's a singer, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a French artist.
That's right, yeah. Well, there we go. Singers in movies. I love that film.
So one of the things that's interesting about Richard's work, and I said to him when we started this film, a lot of your work is about love over time, that equation. And one of the things that's amazing about doing movies, and that's clearly another example of it, is movies more than any other art form can play with time.
Yeah.
And they can do it. We can do it. And I'm not the first to say this. It's been said many times. Obviously, literally, the process of filmmaking, even in a conventional film that's not interested in time, is compressing action to make it appear to act more quickly, or extending it to make it feel more slowly, or jumping it, or creating alternative time universes, which is sort of what we do in this movie.
I mean, that's where Jean de Florette and Manon de Sauce was so extraordinary, because they just gave you it's like your body ate up generations of other people's lives, and that's what The Godfather 2 did.
Yeah.
That you kind of get it shoveled in, a whole new
incredible
life story, an extraordinary thing.
And it's also based on you giving us 2 hours of your time in a cinema.
What was that great movie where Jean Dujardin got hit by a car? Yeah. That's a really good film. It's a bit like The Big Chill.
Yes, yeah.
They all gather because a friend of theirs has been killed, I think.
Yeah, well, it's by Guillaume Canet. Yeah, cool.
The French are very they don't mind making movies about intelligent people having intelligent conversations and things going slightly wrong. This, by the way, is one of my favourites.
That's a lovely film.
I love the Smiths.
Sorry?
I said I love the Smiths.
You know, people ask about romantic comedies and say, will they go on existing? Have they gone out of fashion? And my feeling is that whenever anybody who's good at writing jokes and who actually cares about love writes a film like that, it'll make a beautiful film. The problem is people who think that it's a genre, who think, oh, well, if we get two handsome people and if they make it work. Yeah, we can make it work. And you can't. It's got to come from the heart. I mean, you've never done a film which didn't bang around in your heart and your head, have you?
Some of this. I just saw this. This is an amazing film. And he is amazing in it. Pattinson, who's the new Batman. And you watch him in this, I tell you what I thought in it, watching it, I thought he's the new Bond. Why don't they get him to take over from Daniel Craig?
Oh, look, that's the greatest movie ever made.
The Sunroof. Wow. I saw this in San Sebastian, in the film festival there. And I don't speak Spanish, and it had Spanish subtitles on a Russian print. I mean, you've got to be in the mood for Tarkovsky, which I suspect Richard never is in the mood.
I went to see a Tarkovsky movie with a girl on a date. I think her name was Annie Williams. That was the last date we went on.
Did she not like the Tarkovsky?
She didn't like it, no. So what I'd like to say is our movie is a good date movie.
I believe in yesterday.
When did you write that?
Let's hope that 10 years from now, Danny, there's some talented young person who's in this store, and the store's still here, and they say, oh, if you want to see a movie that makes you really happy. It's a bit sad because Richard's dead now, but yesterday.
And he's
Danny's
the director's in prison.
Danny's just done the sequel.
Yes.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow, the music of BTS, the South Korean band. Well, it's been a great joy.